Hey folks, it's Ryan Adams here from naturalweightlossmastery.com. I got asked what I thought was a brilliant question in a recent video's comment section that went something along the lines of, Ryan, if you had to start from scratch with weight loss tomorrow, what would you eat every single day? And I thought, what a brilliant question that is to answer here in a full YouTube video for everyone. Now, I have this typical 3 meal and 1 snack structure that I have many of my clients follow, and of course, there's some personalization to them based on, well, frankly, a number of different factors. This is also a plan or a structure I think I've spoken about briefly here on YouTube, certainly on Instagram, and it's been very popular for a lot of reasons. Firstly, it's very quick and simple, but secondly, for many people, it's been, of course, extremely effective. Now, the caveat is, of course, for person X or person Y, for instance, they might require higher or lower protein intake, the same with fat too. And of course, the biggest asterisk and the biggest thing to note is that portions and calories matter too. So this is merely a structure, you need to adapt it for you in other words. But here we are, let's get into it, here we go. Number 1 is, of course, oatmeal and fruit, you guys probably guessed it. So old-fashioned rolled oats with some water or plant milk. Of course, water is optimal in terms of the caloric density, but I don't think badly of unsweetened plant milk at all. Frankly, I have it every day myself, and it's still very low calorie anyway. But use water or plant milk with that. You could use a combination of the two if you like, but of course, I won't lie to you, water, according to the textbook anyway, is the most Puritan option there. Does that mean you should do it? You have to make a decision about that yourself. Then we top that with some fruit. Now, the only red flag on fruit is something like dried fruit, so medjool dates, raisins, dried apricots, etc., prunes and whatnot. Why? Because they have a higher caloric density, because they have all that water extracted, right? So for the amount of dried fruit you have compared to fresh, the calories are considerably higher, so that's worth noting too. So what do I suggest you use with your oatmeal? You can use a handful of raisins if you want, but mainly focus, I suggest, on the fresh fruits. Berries are wonderful on oatmeal taste-wise, but also in terms of, antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, etc. All fruit is wonderful, and all fruit, slightly different nutrition profiles. Berries particularly stand out for me. Banana is a very popular choice with oatmeal as well, but apple, pear, whatever you like, bit of fruit on there. And of course, even when I was losing weight, I would try and combine one of those healthy fat sources, such as a tablespoon of maybe milled flaxseed, chia, or hemp seed as well. So I'd have a bit of that on there. Now, in terms of sweetener, for a lot of people, it's going to be sweet enough if you get ripe fruit. Here in the UK, we very rarely get good quality ripe and tasty sweet fruit anyway. So I would typically use just a drizzle of maple syrup, a very small amount indeed. Stevia is acceptable as well. Brown or coconut sugar, another alternative. And how can I forget as well, because there's a few people out there that like this, agave syrup is a good alternative too. So just a drizzle of those, or maybe a teaspoon if I was having the coconut sugar. So not a lot at all, just enough to give it some sweetness so I enjoyed that meal. So that would be breakfast. For me, lunch would be a rice, beans, and veggies combination. Third of the plate, the rice, brown rice preferably. Third of the plate, a bean or a legume, I should say, of my choosing. My favorites back in the day were black beans and chickpeas and red kidney beans. Those 3 I really liked. Didn't actually get into lentils until much later, actually, frankly, in my sort of weight loss and vegan/plant-based journey, ironically, because I love them now and they're brilliant for weight loss, of course. But those were the few that I liked back in the day. And of course, veggies. What veggies should we go for here? Different colours, eat the rainbow is a good rule of thumb, isn't it? I like lots of dark greens, preferably zucchini, wonderful, kale, wonderful. If you can get leafy greens in as well, like kale, like spinach, like arugula, like rocket, that's a great benefit as well. But we'll talk about the salad we're going to do for dinner as well, spoiler there. So you don't need too many leafy greens with the lunch. So some green veggies, some mixed veggies too, but some green veggies, big focus on those. Zucchini, again, I talk about zucchini a lot for a reason, incredible for weight loss. Mushrooms, great as well. So yeah, that would be it. Now, there's an argument there that maybe I would have a touch of avocado, maybe like, for me personally, it would be half an avocado, maybe 2 tablespoons of hummus, just to give that meal, so it's not so dry, number 1, but to give it a bit of flavor. Salsa might be another alternative as well. I would definitely be trepidatious, or I was cautious, with the likes of avocado and those, again, overt fats back in the day when I was looking to slim down. I'm definitely a lot more liberal with them now because I'm in a weight maintenance phase. I would stress to you guys that we treat these fat sources like a garnish. So yeah, going back, if I was to start again tomorrow, yes, I would have a bit of hummus, I would have a bit of avocado. I'd just be very cautious about going overboard, just treating them like a garnish or a supplement to the other ingredients on that plate. Dinner for me would of course be, you guys guessed it, potatoes. I would have baked potatoes, as we call them here in the UK, jacket potatoes. I would have this is just for me, so maybe it's a template, maybe it's appropriate for you, maybe it's for not. And this is actually what I used to do. I would have 3 medium-ish sized baked potatoes. That's right, 3, had a big appetite, always do, and I was very active as well while slimming down. You guys should know that about me. I'm also 5'11/6 foot, right in between, so I usually round up. Sounds more generous, doesn't it? 6 foot. And of course, as I say, particularly active. That's not comparable for most of you. It's not appropriate for most of you. So, and this is whilst I was slimming down as well, of course, as well as now. So, for me, 3 potatoes was adequate, and then I'd have a massive green side salad as well, with maybe a balsamic vinaigrette type dressing. It was only really that I started to add my more creamy sort of tahini or cashew-based dressings a bit later on in my journey. Now, knowing what I do know, I could have included those things earlier on, but as is the same for many of you guys, I had that caution around fat intake back then. But I would do a tahini-based dressing now, knowing what I do know. I just would keep it very dilute. I would have a lot of lemon juice in there, or a lot of water, or whatever I was combining the tahini with. Very little tahini itself, it'd be quite diluted. But on a nice green salad, and I referenced that earlier, that's where you can get your rocket, your arugula, some spinach as well, some nice dark leafy greens. But I would too throw in, and again, do this all the time nowadays, tomatoes, cucumber, radish, etc., etc. So a nice hearty salad. Well, it's not a hearty salad, but it's mostly a leafy green salad with some other veggies thrown in there, of course. And then, of course, my potatoes. What would I top those with? Salt. Oh, ketchup. Oh, that's right. A little bit of those things. Tactically to make the food taste good. Homemade salsa is another good alternative. You could have I've heard of all sorts of things going on potatoes, but hummus and you can do avocado with them as well. But for me, if I had one of those with my lunch and I was having maybe a tahini dressing, I wouldn't be so worried about having, again, more of those over fat. So I just have my baked potatoes there, a bit of ketchup or a bit of salsa, some salt, maybe some more herbs as well. I'd have some mixed Italian herbs on there, oregano, basil, etc., just to give the potatoes some flavor. And no, I wouldn't cook those potatoes in oil. And I would usually, I'm breaking all the rules here, I would usually actually do potatoes in the microwave because of my schedule back then. Nowadays, and actually in this new apartment, I don't even have a microwave. So when I did baked potatoes about a week ago, I actually just did them in the oven and it was absolutely fine. It just takes obviously a lot longer than microwave. It's so convenient. But that's how I used to do them. If I was hungry, and I mentioned the snack earlier on, I would just have fruit. Now, there are all sorts of healthy snacks you can have that still help you lose weight. From rice and corn cakes with hummus to crispy salted edamame. Popcorn, to a certain degree. I spoke about popcorn recently. Check out my recent video on my channel on that. Popcorn can be acceptable as well as a weight loss snack at times to a certain degree. There are, of course, some caveats with popcorn you need to be aware of. But that is more or less what I would do. I would just stick to fruit. There are other things you can do. Again, whole wheat toast with a bit of natural jam, as we call it here in the UK, jelly to my friends across the pond. Brilliant. Absolutely can be part of a healthy and weight loss encouraging diet if you find the right bread, if you find the right topping, and if, of course, it goes into your overall calories and macronutrients for the day. Not that I necessarily think tracking those is mandatory at all. So you can have those other things, but my safe bet back in the day, and what I would do if I was starting again now, if I was hungry, I would just have a couple of medium pieces of fruit, whether that was, for me back in the day, I'm not a big banana fan. I know, I feel like I'm the only vegan sometimes who isn't that bothered about bananas, but I would have grapes, popular for me, apples I love, and one of the only good quality, good tasting foods that actually gets grown here in the UK. Citrus fruits are absolutely phenomenal for weight loss. Of course, watermelon is all the rage on vegan and plant-based YouTube now, watermelon and melon more widely. Incredible for weight loss because it's got such a high water content. So filling, satisfying, hydrating for very few calories as well. That's my plan. Oatmeal for breakfast, rice, beans and veggies for lunch, potatoes and a green salad for dinner, and fruit for any snacks. Hope this gives you some inspiration.